everyone, welcome back to Installation 00, and today we continue with the Bestiarum, a dive into the respective species of the Halo universe, and we continue with the Jiralhanae.
Yes. Run, little demon.
The last of the client species to be incorporated into the Covenant was the Jiralhanae, known to most other species simply as brutes due to their impressive size and terrifying ferocity. Since the very beginning, the Jiralhanae were probationary members of the Covenant military, used almost exclusively in small-scale operations and under the ever-watchful eye of Sangheli monitors. Over time, they were given more influence, some even being granted their own ships and crews. In addition to standard infantry comprised of shock troops and hunter-killer packs, specialized detachments such as stalkers and jumpers were trained, equipped, and deployed into battle. Chafing under the command of the Sangheli for decades, once the Jiralhanae received the blessing of the hierarchs, they swiftly moved to depose the Sangheli, resulting in the Great Schism and eventually the downfall of the entire Covenant. Towering over 2.5 meters in height, the Jiralhanae are an aggressive species of pseudo-ursine mammalian bipeds with resilient, leathery grey hide. Without any grooming, they will become completely covered in thick brown or black fur, which whitens as they age. The manner in which Jiralhanae grooms provides an insight into their skein formations, large groups within their species that embrace common cultural distinctions. Jiralhanae have 3 clawed fingers and an opposable thumb on each hand, and large cloven-toed feet. Their sense of smell is exceptional, making them excellent hunters. Jiralhanae are omnivorous, but their sharp teeth and high caloric requirements betray a mostly carnivorous diet. When the Covenant first came upon Doac, they found a world ravaged by nuclear war and years of bloodshed. The Great Immolation was a series of battles that had undone early advances made by their species, leaving their planet a nuclear wasteland. Though the Covenant was initially resisted by the elders of their kind, young Jiralhanae, disillusioned with fighting over burned-out ruins and plains of irradiated glass, eagerly embraced the Empire and its faith, despite being received with wary disgust by the Sangheli. After suffering demeaning and expendable roles for decades, a secret pact was made with the hierarchs to overthrow the Sangheli and take control of the military, an act that resulted in the destruction of the Empire. Now scattered and without a unified identity, some Jiralhanae have become mercenaries, while others seek to carve out their own fiefdoms among the stars. Jiralhanae culture values strength and ferocity above all, which contributes to both their stratification as a species and their profound unity in their clans. Customs and practices were rooted in what held families and packs together, a solidarity that was defined by those who could demonstrate their power. For the Jiralhanae, life is always a test of strength and cunning, whether found in battle or on a hunt. The Jiralhanae adopted wholesale the Covenant religion and the Sangheli language after membership, but some remnants of their ancient language and totems persists in the markings used on weapons and clan banners, some representing long since faded religious convictions once attached to Doac's lunar cycles. The most basic unit of social cohesion of the Jiralhanae is the pack, consisting of families or military units led by a dominant alpha male, typically bound together under a common banner of ideological consensus or mutual self-defense. Led by chieftains, the strongest packs formed alliances with weaker groups and other family units, forming the backbone of a clan. Clans consisted of multiple packs allied together for a central goal or due to the dominance of an influential chieftain. Despite the fragmentation of their society, all Jiralhanae belong to larger domains called skeins, divisions that are based on divergent views of their interaction with the world around them, intersecting with conduct, customs, and even the adoption of certain technologies. The 2 most prominent skeins in Jiralhanae history are the Ratol and the Veloth. Doac, also known as Oath Sonin III, was a harsh, dangerous world, scarred by nuclear war and endless conflict among rival packs. Covenant records reveal it was once filled with lush, dense jungles punctuated by fortress cities, bunker complexes, and towering tree citadels. Large predatory creatures which threatened even Jiralhanae hunting packs stalked the outlands and ruins of the once great cities that dotted the planet in an earlier age. Doac's 3 natural satellites are Soirapt, Tish, and Wariel, the first and largest a lifeless corpse moon, while the others were industrialized and populous. After the Covenant fell, many returned to Othsonin in hopes of rebuilding their own worlds, but such optimism would be short-lived. When the warlord Atriox failed to comply with Cortana, this resulted in the planet's devastating end. Billions died in the cataclysm, along with almost all remnants of Jiralhanae culture and history. Though their shattered world now slowly cools in the void, the brute's thirst for vengeance has only begun to be stoked. With the origins of the Banished arising out of the rebellion of Atriox, instigated itself by the senseless sacrifice of his own people at the hands of the Covenant, a strong Jiralhanae presence dominates the Alliance to this day. This fact has manifested in a strong and pervasive Jiralhanae influence at every level. Forged in the fires of revolution, the Banished first began with only Jiralhanae in its numbers. Led by the powerful Warmaster Atriox in the barefaced defiance against the Covenant, the Banished's early days were formative in the organization's development and were marked by the ingathering of thousands of Jiralhanae. They built a resilient military culture rooted in a war theory originating on Doac. During this time, the Banished quickly became a powerful force to be reckoned with. Yet, despite those advances, it was only after the destruction of the Covenant that the greatest of the clans entered into dealings with Atriox. Now, with Doac utterly devastated at the hands of Cortana, the Banished represent the largest Jiralhanae military force under a single banner. This robust presence has availed itself in every area and facet of the Banished's military structure, from the lowest level of infantry to Atriox's most trusted advisors. Over 100 discrete roles are employed by the Jiralhanae, but only a handful are deemed noteworthy. The most common of all Jiralhanae infantry are the warriors of the Banished. Outfitted in standard armour and equipped with the most basic of weapons, these warriors must be tested in the fires of battle before they are to see any advancement. Their sheer number causes them to be the Banished's exemplars, densely populating its many legions. Often simply a product of raw, inexperienced fighters of Doac's youngest, the role of warrior allows the resolve and ability to be sharpened, preparing them for the trials that come with improving one's station. In limited capacity, some warriors are given charge over other species to vet their ability to command, while others are granted specialized subset roles, such as thrust-assisted jumpers or high-explosive grenadiers, all of these under the careful observation of a tenured captain. Nevertheless, most Jiralhanae remain in this role for the entire length of their service within the Banished, oftentimes fighting at the front lines until they are ground to dust underneath its ambitions. The most savage and violent of the Banished are Berserkers, a specialized element of warriors who have given over their bodies to the destruction of their enemies, even at the cost of their minds. Through the use of an unstable stim developed in the smog-choked barrens of Wariel's Doac, the Berserkers first came into being when warriors pledged solemn loyalty to Atriox alone, consuming these toxic chemicals to fuel an unbridled violence in their hearts. Driven into a maniacal frenzy, the Berserker seeks nothing but the death of their enemy, ravenously charging their prey with zero thought to personal safety or even the collateral damage they may inflict on their allies. These large, powerful Jiralhanae, covered in thick layers of muscle and armour, are muzzled like wild beasts and have a devastating effect on enemy morale. Encounters with Berserkers almost always prove catastrophic for their adversaries, either ripping their victims apart until they are no longer recognizable, or imparting a lifetime of nightmares to any who survive. If one proves themselves in battle, they may be chosen. Warriors who have been given extended authority and jurisdiction are granted this formal title, a privilege that allows them to operate with a greater level of autonomy than their previous station, while still being tested in the rigors of combat. Chosen warriors command lower warrior squads and lead their own alloyed cohorts into battle, typically wearing gold armour that has been augmented and bears markings which befit their new status. Chosen warriors also get the first selection of weapons from the armory that services their cohort. allowing them to more deliberately tailor their arsenal towards personal combat proficiencies while refining skills and specializations that could be leveraged for further advancement. For this reason, many use unorthodox weapons, such as those belonging to humans or foreigners. Like the warriors before them, those who are chosen still maintain contentious, embattled lives, fiercely competing with each other for the favour and commendation of their leaders. The greatest of Jiralhanae outland hunters are usually given roles as banished snipers. Naturally skilled at tracking quarry and strenuously trained within their birth clan, the banished sniper is an astonishingly adept warrior, usually capable of culling threats many thousands of meters away, oftentimes without ever being seen. Outfitted with a specialized sensor array and an impressive native link optics suite integrated into an armored helmet, Jiralhanae snipers place themselves in elevated positions around the perimeter of banished redoubt or outpost, which allows them to scan the battle lines for the slightest hint of movement. Hunting and raiding parties commonly host snipers aboard their war sleds and war skiffs, leveraging them to track and target enemies from a distance, even deftly terminating them in the heat of the chase. For a season, Bestiarum committed units consisting entirely of snipers to hunt down and destroy the last of the demon Spartans on Zeta Halo. While this effort was met with some success, the Spartans who survived continued to be a thorn in Bestiarum's side, even until the very moment of his death. The formal rank of captain in the Banished closely echoes the Covenant's obsolete hierarchical system, though Banished captains operate with a higher level of autonomy and may govern a broader jurisdiction than the forebearers of their rank, and are often assigned a large number of warriors. Closely following the wisdom and strategies of their chieftain, captains are dispatched to conduct specific operations and complete essential tasks that smaller warrior-led groups would not be entrusted with. As with all Jiralhanae clans, the position of captain falls immediately below that of chieftain, a fact which leads many to carefully consider overthrowing their leader and taking the position for themselves. From the moment of their installment, shrewd and ambitious captains will always be eyeing their chieftain's place, seeking to challenge and even depose them when the opportunity avails itself. And among captains, the very best are chosen for a higher station and a far greater responsibility. Chosen captains typically command the elite of a given clan or even a legion, a non-parallel group that have thoroughly proven themselves in battle. If a banished captain has been chosen and promoted to the head of a clan or legion, they have earned the highly esteemed mantle of warlord, operating directly under the command of a war chief or even the war master himself. Warlords are powerful and skilled Jiralhanae with an extraordinary strategic acumen that has been systematically tested in the rigors of combat over many years. Although some may well be chieftains in their own right, unlike traditional clans which joined the Banished fully formed, warlords lead clans formed in the fires of battle explicitly for the Banished. A clan's commitment is first to Atriox, even above the loyalty they must have for their own battle brothers. Banished warlords have the privilege of tailoring their armour and equipment according to their own preference, but those recently appointed to this role are often dignified with a silver armour that harkens back to the Covenant captains of an earlier age. This specific design actually predates both Banished and Covenant, and was worn by the most renowned pack leaders during the Dark Times, following the Great Immolation. From the earliest ages of recited Jiralhanae history, the strongest clan leaders have been chieftains, respected and revered veterans who have endured long years, even decades, of warfare in order to attain their position. Clans that belong to chieftains are loyal first to their own, those within the clan, and the chieftain himself, even over their allegiance to the Banished. These have been joined to the Banished through a formal contract, either as freelance mercenaries or for a specific, mutually advantageous reason. Nevertheless, most chieftains typically see Atriox as the unrivaled head of their master pack, following his orders with meticulous precision in hopes of higher placement within the Banished itself, and possibly a seat even within his council of war chiefs. Some chieftains are legion masters, leading clans with peculiar distinction due to their reputation in battle, entrusted by their war chief with freedom to operate independently, so long as they achieve the goal with which they are tasked. Historically, chieftains are only replaced when they are forcibly supplanted by another in their clan, almost always resulting in the end of the former chieftain's life. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, consider hitting the subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss out on future content, and hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. It really does help the channel out significantly. Feel free to pop a comment below on anything you'd like me to cover next, and before signing off I just want to give a shout to my Patreon supporters, Spartan10148, my singular contender class ancilla, Falcon, Jordan and Poseidon, the metarchs of my facility, Sylphia, Ashley, Esoteric, Spartan 1029 and Chris Allen, my dutiful monitors, Darian, Legion, Labrat, Spartan 137, Chris, Element 0, J3, Mr. Keys, Gunslinger Cult, Evermore's Personal Devil, Scion Esports and Saber, my diligent sub-monitors, my dominating fleet of Strato Sentinels, and my loyal enforcers, and all other patrons who continue to support the channel. I can't thank you guys enough. Big props to my Tier 0 YouTube members, Spartan 137, Talia, Fenrir, Bornstella and Jimbo, and all other YouTube members keeping the installation running on that glorious vacuum energy. And if you really love what I'm doing here, consider supporting the channel via the links in the description. Much love, take it easy, and find peace in the domain.